Blair frantically Googles what to do when a ghost contacts you through the internet while her friends meet their untimely demise, which I thought was very funny. I wish she was on Reddit.
Yeah,
I wish she
right.
was
Oh my
on. It was just
God.
like an anonymous board of some sort, and they were like, "Oh, of course, I've definitely had internet ghosts, and don't talk to them." And she's like, "Oops, already did that." And they're like, "All right, well then." It's like a hostage situation, but this time we do give in to their demands.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Kat.
And I'm Gabe.
And
And
we
we're the ghouls next
next door.
door.
Do you like the
That
hand
spooky
motion?
stuff, yeah. The ghouls next door.
Welcome.
Welcome. We are the media literacy show from a horror lens where we explore the real life, historical, and technological reasonings behind our cinematic fears. And we are still haunted.
Yeah. Yeah. We're going to be haunted for at least 3 more episodes.
I think it's like 4 more
4?
episodes.
Yeah. We're just going to keep going. It's as the cacophonous joke that we did before we started, where it just doesn't stop coming. You just don't stop
Yeah,
coming
just
and you
keeps
don't
coming
stop. It just goes forever. Just like
forever.
nice segue. The internet is
Yes.
endless.
Because today, we are haunted by the internet.
Hmm. Just like you are. Everyone is. Like
Yeah,
ultimately,
we are all.
every single you're watching this right now using the internet.
Yeah.
You're haunted.
Sorry.
We are inside your brains. Or you're watching this when otherwise you had no access to us as people. Now we're just here. We're all up in your face.
Yeah,
Is what it is.
that's the internet
We
for you.
volunteered for it.
Yeah.
That's the crazy part. It's a real horror story.
Yes. So we're talking about the internet, which we have done many times.
Yeah.
The haunt, like in different forms. We talked about surveillance, so Big
Mhm.
Brother. We were talking about Snowden and the game Orwell, which is all about like how your internet presence is surveyed, your
Yeah.
information is manipulated and used in ways that you did not intend it to be.
Yeah.
We talked about Cam and about our livelihood and about our personality and profession online, like that person that we put out there, and how those identities can be stolen.
Yeah.
We,
It's gonna be like a combination of everything we've talked about
yeah,
in this one.
yeah,
We talked about the net, I
yep.
remember, like way back when.
Pre videos, we talked about the net.
It just keeps going.
Yeah.
And we're talking about it again.
Yeah, yeah. Because I mean, it does take different forms. There are different things happening. We also did host when
Oh yeah.
like Zoom first became a thing. A whole film was shot on Zoom, and I think that episode was really fun. We did some really interesting tech things ourselves.
Yeah.
So we had for this episode wanted to cover the other film by the creators of of Host, Dashcam, but that was a big no for
It was
us.
a big no.
It's a
I
big
don't even have to
no.
see it to know it was a big no. I did read it though. I read about it and I was like, oh, that sounds really awful.
All the more
Just
no.
deeply
Yeah.
offensive in multiple ways. So maybe don't watch that film. We didn't. So we
Yeah.
can't say we watched it so you didn't have to. We also didn't watch it, and maybe that says everything that
Mhm.
we need to say about it.
Yeah, I mean, we have like our horror friends, right? So, over at Girl That's Scary, they watched it and had some words about it, and which is why I was like, oh, I don't know about this one, and that's why we
Yeah,
looked it up because they were very honest. So definitely check them out. About they have some really good feedback about it, so they watched it, so we don't have to kind
that's
of
so
thing.
true. You're so right.
And so real, and I because like the whole thing is like there's this internet troll, right? Like that's a big element to it, and he's very problematic. And then like it's like, what is the message for this? Because that person
Yeah,
doesn't really get anything.
consequence.
Yeah, there's no consequences, and it's really giving J.K. Rowling's book where she made her newest book was like, "Oh, there's internet trolls that are harassing this turf because harassing turfs on the internet is bad, and I want to show how horrible it is for the turfs." And everyone was like, "Okay, we get it that it's about you." And she's like, "No, it's not about me. I'm a writer." I'm
Yeah,
making it
okay.
up. Yeah, so that's what it's giving. And so I was like, "No,
Yeah, it's
we
okay.
don't need that."
We don't need it.
Yeah, no.
They can have a one-hit wonder in Host and let it be that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The host was fun. Host is silly. Host is very unfriended, so kind of
Yeah.
works.
Oh, very much. It's like the modern I mean, the Unfriended 2 is the modern version of Unfriended, I guess, but, like,
But even more
it was
modern
kinda like
because
a sidestep from it that was, like, very similar in a time that was it was very perfect for when it came out. I don't know if it would have done as well if it came out at a different time.
no.
Probably not. I don't know if it holds up. We haven't watched it since, so
Yeah. I think it was very good for the time and for like what we were all going through collectively. It was just a great moment. Whereas like I think it's very interesting because we're going to be covering Unfriended and Unfriended 2. That these both of these films, so like Unfriended 2 was 2018.
yeah.
So and Unfriended was 2014. So the way that they interacted with each other on the internet and our understanding of the internet is pretty different from what it is even just now,
Yeah.
having been, mostly virtual or hybrid in those capacities for like 2 years. So, like, it's kind of fun in that way. So, it'll be good to talk about.
Yeah, it was I think Unfriended and Unfriended 2 held up,
Mhm.
in that, like, a lot of what they were saying is just very much a little mirror back to what it was to be a teenager growing up in the birth of the internet. It's a
Yeah.
very millennial, uh, film, I think,
Yeah.
and I think it did very well because a lot of millennials were like, "Wow, you're so right. It's so stressful that I made that status years ago and then this happened." Or like even like I guess like the younger generations who literally just always exist online. It's probably
Mhm.
like a very ancient iteration of that for them where they're like, "I don't understand what this Skype is. I use Zoom and TikTok and what is why are people on Facebook? That's for old people."
Yeah.
But it's still I think like in a lot of ways does still hold up a little bit, at
Yeah.
least for our generation watching it.
As a millennial on TikTok, like, I always get inundated with, like, the reality of us getting older, but I had my first, like, real, like, "Oh, no," moment about technology leaving me behind when a student of mine wrote that they were like, "Oh, my Be Real from whatever was really good," and I was like, "What is that?
What is it?
What are
Be
you
real.
talking about?" It's like this social media thing, I think, oh my god, do not quote me on this, I should look it up, where it prompts you to have to post on a certain type of the day on time of the day, so it's, like, random, and you just post what
Be
you're
real.
doing at that time. Every day at a different time, everyone is notified simultaneously to capture and share a photo in 2 minutes. So, it's Be Real because it's like,
That's
you don't get to make
crazy.
like, you don't get to glamify yourself up because you don't know when. So, you're just, like, in the moment, you take a picture, and I was like I was writing the question in, like, my response to their, like, report, and I was like, "Oh, no, I can't say this, then they'll know that I'm old." But I was like, "What is Be Real?"
That's so crazy
So
too, because that's just like that's just asking for mistakes.
like,
You
what
know?
you're posting? Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
now that they're all being posted at the same time, there's, like, a timestamp that's very specific, so it's like, you can get caught being somewhere doing something that you shouldn't be doing. Now there's a timestamp for that.
Yeah. It
Like,
seems like
someone
a bad
catches you,
idea.
you know?
Uh,
Um,
but,
that's like that
it's also
game,
like
remember?
we're just old now. Where it's just
Yes.
like, "Oh, that sounds bad. We shouldn't do those young
Yeah.
people."
Yeah, now I but
Um,
I'm like, "Maybe I should download this." It's like when we
yeah,
did that game, the trivia game, and it would
yeah.
come up, like, every night, you would get
Oh, I
notified and you had to
remember
play it.
that. What a phenomenon that was.
Yeah, everyone would get the chirp at the same time and you'd be like,
Yeah.
"Gotta check it out." Like
We
that,
were
I was like,
so
"This is
into
Black
that
Mirror. This is
for,
Black
like,
Mirror for
a
sure."
little bit, and then we never did it again, just suddenly.
Yeah,
What is
everyone
time?
stopped. It was such
Mm,
a time. So the internet has always been a thing. I think with Unfriended and Unfriended 2, the topics that they're covering feels evergreen and real, like, even in
yeah.
some of the, like, absurdity of both of these films in a way that, like, the net is just like the net was like, "Ooh, the internet is scary and we're being surveyed,"
Yeah,
right? But it was like kind of like it doesn't hold up because the internet has changed. Whereas
yeah.
like the foundational,
We
like
don't have floppy
fundamental
disks no
horrors,
more.
yeah, the foundational horrors of these two films do hold up. And I know it was only like 2014, but even still, technology changes exponentially. So
Yeah,
it's going to be really crazy in a few years, I'm sure. It's
yeah.
already like we're watching Twitter burn down and
I
destroy
know, and it
entire companies.
seemed like it was
So
an entire permanent thing for a while. They were gonna put it in history books because it was, like,
a
the
week,
way people
1 week.
communicate, and it took 1 week for Elon Musk to entirely annihilate it.
Hmm.
Wild. And
So
to rich
dumb.
people, petty is just different,
Yeah.
is what we learned from that.
You took down, yeah, you took millions from companies. I'm not upset about it. Honestly, I'm like, sure, fine. Eat the
Yeah.
rich, baby. Um, so let's hop into it because I got a lot to say
Excellent,
about
love that for you.
these films. So let me do that. And feel free to chime in anytime, Kat.
You
What's
got
going
it.
on? So as we said, we're covering two films today because they go hand in hand. They are of the same franchise. So Unfriended 1 was from 2014 and it is about a group of online chat room friends find themselves haunted by a mysterious supernatural force using the account of their dead friend, directed by Levon Gabriazzi. And then Unfriended 2, known as Dark Web from 2018, is about a teen comes into possession. Teen? He was not a teen. He was like a grown man.
Yeah, no, he was definitely an adult person.
An adult comes into possession of a new laptop and soon discovers that the previous owner is not only watching him, but will also do anything to get it back. And it's directed by Steven Sesko. Um, yes, it's
I
different.
don't know, I just took that from the IMDb, so
Totally fine. Totally
as
fine.
I'll say in my section, everything on the internet is not necessarily true. It's
Yeah.
all kind of suspect, but here we are.
It's like those commercials where he's like, you can't believe everything on the internet. And it's like, they're like, this is my boyfriend. He's from France. And it was like a regular guy. And he was like, bonjour. Um,
Bonjour, like,
well, yeah, like
American.
bonjour.
Yeah, doesn't know how to
Anyway,
speak French at all, that's funny.
don't believe everything on the internet, including us. Like we don't know everything.
Yeah, we are
We
actively
just say
learning all the
stuff.
times, and sometimes we learn the wrong thing because that's just how life is.
Yeah.
Um,
I learned stuff while watching this. At least Unfriended too, because I was like, oh wow, this all checks out. This is all legit. So very fun. So in the first Unfriended, we follow a group of teens chatting online. This conversation and virtual hangout comes after the death of a fellow classmate. And throughout the film, we learn what led to the teen's suicide, as well as what part the teens we see played in her fatal end. The entire film takes place on a computer screen, which is really cool. And we get to glimpse the protagonist Blair's virtual journey in its entirety, from private messages, Skype windows, her music playlist, what videos she's watching, and her incredibly teen inspired tabs, which featured Forever 21 and Free People. So I was like, oh my God, this is definitely 2014. And like Facebook, was at like kind of in its heyday at that time.
yeah,
I love how she would play a song right before she would get into a chat. Like
yeah,
who did
as
like
you do, right? I guess? I don't know.
I play music constantly. Like when I'm in my Discord groups, you can see it. You can see what Spotify song I'm listening to. When I'm in meetings,
Yeah,
playing some like lo-fi or some chill hop or something. Um,
yeah.
but that's me. I was like, I know that's just because I have problems. This child, I don't think it's like we're just setting the
Forever
um
21 was such a 2000s time too,
yes.
because it's like we were too young to know how awful the age of 21 actually was. So we were like, yeah, we want to be
Yeah.
that forever. And the
Forever.
reality is very much no.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
What I really appreciate about this specific brand of found footage is the creativity. It can feel like a setup for failure at first because it's very limited with our point of view. But each death was interesting because we, like the characters, are confined to these small squares on a screen, so you can feel just as hopeless as they do.
Yeah.
As they're getting picked off, you're like, what's happening? Like you just, like click back to the screen. I will say the one thing that felt really unbelievable was like every time she would go and chat and she would do something,
Yeah.
everyone was quiet. Like, they would
Yeah, they did that in the second one
literally pause.
too, where they're just like their voices just don't like you minimize it or put it behind a window and it's like none of their words
No,
come through. That's not how it works. You still hear
no.
them.
Like, sometimes she'd be like, "Oh," and she'd be, like, in this private chat with her boyfriend, and you would not hear them, and you know they were talking. In the
Yeah.
second one, at least, it seemed like he was silencing that window somehow, which
Yeah.
is like, tell me how you do that because I'd love to silence some of these Zoom meetings if I could,
Yeah.
and just be like, "I'm here, absolutely," and just, like, put it
Yeah,
over
so
there.
sorry, I was doing work. Can you repeat that?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Can you
Uh,
I missed,
I'm
can you rephrase
multitasking
it?
because my task list is so long.
Oh
I
my
was not
goodness.
surfing the internet for random stuff.
Yeah. To the point, like, let me tell you this. I have to teach classes virtually, and a part of the curriculum, like a part of the rules that we have, usually it's just like, one person talks, we all listen, those kinds of things. And I had to act in the virtual space as if you were in a physical space, because people be out here like, okay, time to change my clothes, or like, do like
Oh god.
you're on camera. Okay.
Yeah.
Um that's the horrors of the internet.
Yeah.
Anyway, when what starts as a harmless group hang spirals into creative and disturbing deaths after an unknown person joins the call, which is honestly very terrifying. Someone pops in, you don't know who they are. You're like, what are they doing?
Yeah.
Um, this virtual ghost wreaks havoc on them from beyond the grave and through a screen. These teens are no angels, and their sins are put on display. Secrets are revealed, and the truth comes to light. As the ghost begins picking them off one by one, we are experiencing those frustrating tech glitches synonymous with every Skype experience, such as cameras distorting, calls dropping, and audio not syncing up. People falling out, all kinds of things. Like, I
Yeah.
don't think I've ever had a good clean Skype experience. It always pops up like, "How was your," and it's like, "2. What do you I didn't hear anything they were saying." I find it funny that both of them are using Skype because we're so used to Zoom now, and
Yeah.
it has its own, like, problems, that we
Yeah.
know about. Blair frantically Googles what to do when a ghost contacts you through the internet while her friends meet their untimely demise, which I thought was very funny. I wish she was on Reddit.
Yeah,
I wish she
right?
was
Oh my
on it was just
god.
like an anonymous board of some sort, and they were like, "Oh, of course. I've definitely had internet ghosts, and don't talk to them." And she's like, "Oops, already did that." And they're like, "Alright, well, then it's like a hostage situation, but this time we do give in to their demands."
Yeah. Yeah.
Um One girl unalives herself off camera. A young and irritating boy dies by blender in a scene that still haunts Kat. And
Yep.
another boy shoots himself through, though by then it is revealed that the ghost has control of these characters. So each one of the, like, at first they're like, oh, she has epilepsy or something. And then it's like, oh no, okay.
It was
There's
also
a ghost.
very obvious that, like, they had made her drink bleach.
Yeah.
She had a giant
Yeah.
bleach container next to her.
Hmm. Yeah. But
So,
they're kids. I mean, and you don't
yeah.
think that. You don't think, okay, my friend who just got off the
Context
call,
clues.
you,
No,
you
yeah.
got stress
We
brain.
don't have critical thinking skills at that age. Not much, at least. It's
Exactly.
okay.
In a scene that I thoroughly enjoyed, she, the ghost Laura, skillfully prints a message to Blair and her friend Adam, and it's been revealed at this time that these two were having an affair or had slept with each other in the past. It's weird to call it an affair when it's children. But
Yeah.
as her boyfriend Mitch struggles with Blair's infidelity and lies, he urges them to reveal what the ghost sent them because they just get this print, like their printer just starts going. And I was like, everyone got a printer? Like, what is this?
Yeah.
Um, but they insist they cannot. They really cannot show you what's on this paper. Like, you really can't have it. And in the moment of pure panic, Blair chooses Mitch over Adam because he's threatening to leave the chat, which will result in his death. And so she reveals the paper, and Adam immediately shoots himself as we read, if you show this paper, Adam will die. Which I was like,
Yeah.
that's dope. Like, that was a cool way to do that.
Yeah.
Because then we can, infer that what Adam had on his paper was the same, but about Blair.
Yeah.
So it's really interesting that, like, he didn't show it because he didn't seem like a loyal guy,
Yeah.
clearly.
It was just very
Um,
obvious teenager times, the entire experience. You're just
the
like,
whole
wow, they
thing.
really, you couldn't wait 10 minutes in your feelings? No?
Yeah.
Okay. It's all right now.
But your feelings are all like 100,
I know.
and
I
this is
know.
everything.
I
And also
know.
people are dying. And I'm like,
Yeah.
where are
No,
the
it's like
parents?
a reasonable stress. Reasonable stress. but
Like,
also
did they have laptops? Like, you could go to a different room, try to
yeah.
flag
No
whatever.
one in 2014 was raised by gentle parenting, and that's fine.
That's very true. And as absolutely messy as these teens were, as well as the plot, the deaths were really fun. There were times where I was truly curious and stressed. One scene had a new caller join in the conversation, this time with their video on showing a room through a latticed item, such as a laundry basket or trash can. And as the kids berate the silly ghost for leaving their camera on, they realize the video is coming from inside the house.
Yeah.
And this, like so much of the movie, is a fun, albeit silly time. And the film doesn't try to have much in the way of reality or probability with its horror, other than the technical glitches. But I still enjoyed it for the campy scares.
Yeah.
So, and it's definitely held up, and people really still enjoy it. It is a like a cult classic of horror films, honestly.
Yeah.
Great gore, very creative, silly as all get out,
Yeah, you can't take it too
stressful.
seriously, but it's like a very good time. And it is
Yeah.
genuinely scary, like in moments where you're just like, "Oh god."
Yeah,
And the
it's just
who done it
stressful
element
teen
too.
stuff,
Yeah.
yeah. Because they just and the whole time it's just like, but, you know, like, you this has to be also a teen ghost because, like,
Yeah, the petty.
teens don't know. Yeah, it's petty. I mean, it's real for them, right? But also, like, kids just don't know, like, there's that whole documentary about the girl who told her boyfriend to unalive himself
Yeah.
through text messages, and I've watched, like, those documentaries about her, and it's like, they just don't get it, like, it's not
Yeah.
real in that way. So I that one breaks my heart. So for on
Yeah.
all parts of it. So if you want like real horrors of the internet, that case.
Yeah.
Unfriended 2 takes the virtual horrors a step further by incorporating a more realistic monster. The film follows a new group of friends, this time adults, for their virtual game night, which is fun because this wasn't is normal now, but it wasn't in 2018.
Yeah.
So I was like, that's kind of
It's like
interesting.
pre-pandemic.
Yeah, hang out. Like
Still
I
doing.
was like, you live far away, we're not friends anymore. That's how that works.
Oh.
Um, but that's not how it worked for them. So our protagonist this time is Matthias, a man with a new computer, and he is seen re-entering his own passwords and bypassing the autofills on websites from the previous owner, one Nora C4.
Yeah.
The fourth, Nora C. the fourth. Matthias installs a new program he's been working on that would allow him to better communicate with his girlfriend, who we learn is deaf. And this program will translate his words into sign language using videos he's recorded of him doing those signs, which I was like, that is rad,
Yeah.
and super helpful. But totally understand. She brings up the flaw in that is that it he does the signs to her, but he doesn't know all the signs. So when she signs back, it doesn't translate.
Yeah.
It's a one-way
It's
translation.
like
That's not
a
helpful.
easy it's like a Band-Aid.
Yeah. The problem is, like, if you really care, you need to learn sign language.
Yeah.
Period. This program will translate his words. Oh, I said that. Okay. We learned that he acquired this computer online to better run this program. However, the memory is overloaded and it runs glitchily. His tech savvy friend tells him he needs to run a program to find excess files to delete. And this is when Matthias discovers some hidden files containing videos and information. As this is happening, he is being inundated with pings on Facebook from Norris's friends and a woman named Erica Dunn. Erica
Yeah.
turns out to be a friend of Erica's who is using her account to communicate with the person who has stolen her computer, Matthias. So he didn't buy this on eBay. He stole it, or Craigslist, or wherever he said it was. So
Yeah.
while we learn about his theft, Matthias's friends question him about his lack of energy. He's very distracted. And one of the Facebook friends asked Matthias if he could fulfill a request for an exchange of money. And it appears Nora C has a lucrative business. He gets a bunch of reports or like messages from these girls. They're like, "Did you buy the plane ticket? I can't wait to see you." Like, this person's
Yeah.
living the high life.
I will say you
Um,
just delivered that line as if you were a professional newscaster, and it was very if full request of an exchange for money. Like, you said it was great. It was good.
Thank you.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's like I've been doing this for 6 years.
Yeah, a
Um,
professional.
it's like those, like, newscasters and you hear them, like, being regular, like, "Oh, ha, ha, thank you." And then the report said, and you're like, "Whoa,
Yeah.
I didn't do that."
Or they narrate, like, regular life. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's good, that's good.
The baby has cried since 3 in the morning.
Yeah,
Um
this just in.
Yeah. After being pressed about this computer, Matthias tells his friends that he's uncovered some questionable files. They watch together via screen share some of the very many videos on the drive. There's a lot, there's terabytes of it. And the videos seem harmless at first, although unsettling. Those of people in their homes doing
Yeah.
regular stuff, including like a baby sleeping, right? Like it's
Yeah.
clearly a nanny cam or like baby cam of that sort. So it appears someone has hacked people's home cameras, and his tech savvy friend Damon explains they can hack in and even shut off the light that indicates the camera is on, so folks don't even know that it's happening. Um,
Yeah.
I remember there was a scandal where this like school gave out a bunch of free computers to students, but then they
Yeah,
would
so they
hack into the
could spy on
camera.
them, yeah.
Yeah. And all the students were like, "Why is my camera on?" And then they would try to like write them up for stuff they did at home.
That's crazy.
Crazy.
In what world? And no one read the terms of conditions. They're probably signing their whole things away.
Always. So after looking at the last video, they see that a man has snuck into a girl's room, seemingly to show that he can and possibly to show off merchandise. The Facebook buyer requests a special event, that of trephination. Which Matthias thankfully has to Google. And
Yeah, 'cause
it is a, I was like, what? And thankfully he was also like, what? So we Googled it, and it is a surgical procedure in which a circular piece of bone is drilled and excised, most commonly from the human skull. So, truly terrifying and dark stuff.
yeah.
This guy was like, "Can you do that for a large amount of money?" And Matthias is like, "What?
What do you
What
want?
is that?
Oh, whose computer is this? I don't
Oh,
want it anymore.
friends? Something's going on here."
Yeah.
Um, Matthias's computer's former owner was a member of a dark organization on the dark web. He finds videos that hint at horrible things done to women, though thankfully he closes out of them before they become too much, which I was like, whew, thank
Yeah.
you. No need for it. We got it. We got
Yeah.
it. And in terror, the friends decide they need to alert the police. So, some spoilers abound. I spoiled the first one, but
Yeah.
it's still fun. You should still have fun.
Yeah,
Like,
even if you're just like, "Wow, look at this
you
mess.
don't know
Just gonna
what they
enjoy this
contributed.
mess."
All you know is that they cheated, and that's you kind of know that the whole time.
Yeah. It's
So
fine.
spoilers, please, like I say, watch it. It gets a lot
Yeah,
of
it's
hate, and
fun.
I'll explain why. But also, I think it was really fun. And if you don't know a lot about computers, you're gonna have a good time.
Yeah.
You're gonna be like, "Wow, that's cool."
Yeah.
So,
I'm
um,
terrified because that maybe could happen to me.
I
Excellent.
don't know, you know.
Check box.
So, spoilers. Go watch it and come back. Anyway, we learn that Erica Dunn is not Norris's friend, but rather the latest victim of this dark web group. And this is when Matthias learns that Norris C, or rather Sharon Four, known as the guy who drives the boat down the river Styx
Okay.
and peddles the in Greek mythology, they're all called
Yeah, yeah,
Sharons
yep.
because they're in the river. That's what the dark web site was that they were on.
Yeah.
Anyway, Sharon 4, because they all have like numbers associated with them, knows where he is. Matthias is mad that he hasn't returned the computer and is going to kill his girlfriend.
Here.
So things spiral out from there, and the friends begin dropping like flies.
Yep.
And unlike the spectral and unbelieving horrors of Unfriended, this film provides villains and deaths that, however absurd, aren't entirely fantastical. A little bit, but not entirely. You know, like
Yeah.
to a degree, a little more believable than a ghost in a computer. Google how to exercise your computer. It's like run malware. um, the friends are attacked or strategically taken out by these elite hackers, dark web organizational folks. They don anti-surveillance gear, which gives them a digitally spectral look on camera but they are incredibly real people. So, like at
Yeah.
first, it seems like okay, we're back in the ghost world because someone gets pushed off of a roof, but then you see the tech glitches because it's which is also not exactly how anti-surveillance gear works. It's not a matter of like you're invisible to cameras. It's that you distort the cameras. So none of it would have
Yeah.
been used. But anyway, I thought it was cool that they even would wear that to give it kind of like a ghosty feel.
Yeah.
The way they undo these humans was incredibly unique and scary in an entirely different way than the first one. Where that one had absurd gore, clever glitches, and distortion, this film had the true horrors of the internet, doxing, and hacking. Straight up. That's it.
Yep.
Doxing, scariest thing. So the Sharons are able to locate each one of the friends, and they aren't shy to reveal just how talented they are by screen sharing their hacks with the group. So they watch as one Facebook post leads to an alma mater, to a listserv on a university site, and eventually to their friend's home. Like, that's all it took, a few steps. Very reminiscent for me of playing Orwell, which is that video game where you're in a computer. So the whole thing takes place and you're in a computer and you use like people's social media to gain access to their accounts and to where they live and who they are, and you're compiling information. It's literally that. So I was like, that's crazy. And it's pretty like, I mean, they do it pretty quickly, but I mean, doxing is real and happens to people all the time in a really scary way. So that one I was like, whoa. One friend who is incredibly anti-social media and is seen in the beginning harping on the problems with surveillance is notoriously off grid. But given that he needs a platform to spout his mistrust of the government and the internet, he has a podcast because of course he does. It's like,
Of
yeah,
course.
like, you could complain about the internet, but also still be on the internet.
Yeah.
The Sharons then show the group various videos from his show, then slice up those videos to create a horrible message. And this message is a threat to the government, which they play on a phone call to 911, fully equipped with his address and name. So it's like, I'm going to come after the government. I'm, essentially branding him a terrorist and then being like, here's my name, here's where I live. It's
Yeah.
like people be crazy or like no, people be unhinged enough that they don't understand their actions. So not entirely disbelieving that someone will
Yeah.
make a call like that. So they actually realize
Oh, I mean, swatting is real. Like, that's a real thing that people do. Where they call like SWAT team on somebody with
Mhm,
false information.
yeah. Well, this one was like him calling on himself,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah. I'm just yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
But it's
But
like a real
like
thing that happens.
the government using picked out versions of things that you said, like misconstruing things that you said and then using that against you, like that happens all the time. People get
Yeah,
arrested for Facebook posts. Like I know
yeah,
someone who was like detained because of Facebook posts about Black Lives Matter.
yeah,
It happens. So and then you're like on lists, just because you were like, I hate that, we don't tax the rich. Oh gosh, how dare you? Anyway, you can say anything you want audio wise because they can't read audio feeds. It's all SEO, baby. Anyway, so
yeah,
they chop up these videos, they make a call to 911, and then the friends realize that the call had been made a while ago, like 10 minutes or so. And so the feds are actually
yeah,
at AJ's door. And as he walks with his hands up, shouting to the police that he will comply, because you know how well that works in America, the Sharons hack his desktop and download a sound clip, one of a shotgun cocking, and they turn up the volume as loud as it can go and let rip, resulting in the police, as trigger happy as always, to absolutely lay into him. And that is only one of the incredibly interesting and stressful deaths.
yeah,
It's crazy. I was like, that was phenomenal. I was like, it was
yeah,
so scary the way they did that. And I was like, and it's not like it is like a silly thing to happen on screen, but I was like, versions of that occurred. Period.
yeah,
One person is forced to choose between her sick mother or her new fiance, while others are framed for the abduction of Erica Dunn. Turns out this isn't the only game night for this group of friends, but it's also for the dark web weirdos. And as someone who isn't computer savvy, I was very impressed with this film. Whereas I find myself rolling my eyes during certain silly found footage film techniques, as someone who works in film themselves, I couldn't catch all the flaws in this.
yeah,
Was it unbelievable at times? Certainly. For one, what hacking genius has an autofill option on their computer, especially for their bank? Like that
yeah.
part,
That's
like
dumb.
there should at least be like you sign in, you have to,
Two-factor authorization, my guy.
yeah, or like I have a password holder thingy, but I have to sign into that. And
Yeah,
then it holds all my passwords. It's not just like on my browser, and that's like what it is. Like that's crazy. Like, and if you're gonna have like, if you're the kind of person who has cryptocurrency and you're doing incredibly shady stuff on the internet, there's no way you just let people do that.
yeah.
Like, and then you also want to just leave your computer there. Like, there's so many red flags. Anyway,
Where it's like it kind of spoils the movie too because It was on purpose.
Exactly, exactly. The spoilers. We're already in
Because they
spoilers
wouldn't
town.
do that in any other
As soon as I got to,
situation.
like, a dark web, like, folder, I'd be like, "Okay, something's up," because
We'll
why
put
how
this
did I
back.
get there? You know, like, how did me, regular regular person, get to dark web on someone
Yeah.
else's? Like, that's not, like, the no. Like, I have
Take
no
the
illusions.
computer
I
back.
have no illusions about myself. I do appreciate that that both of these groups had, like, a tech friend that was like, "Oh, I understand, you gotta get into the mainframe." Um, but I did have fun while also being quite worried during the film, because I could suspend disbelief. I
Yeah.
People on the internet be hating on this film. It's like, just suspend disbelief. Sometimes you could do that,
Yeah,
and
you
it's
don't gotta
fun.
think too hard about it.
Um, and an article on ARS Technica titled Unfriended Dark Web War Drives Straight into the Bad Tech Film Toilet. Writer Sam Makikovac explains more of the technical flaws that simply went over my head. Firstly, the problem is with AJ's theory that the videos are a result of war driving, which I had to Google. So thank you, CasperSky.com. And it apparently means war driving in cybersecurity is the act of looking for publicly accessible Wi Fi networks, usually from a moving vehicle using a laptop or smartphone, which is, I thought, what AJ explained. But Mackie Kovac was like, no, this is wrong. So he was like, not quite, but I don't know. Then he linked to another article and it was too techy for me. So
Yeah.
the term derives from the 1983 movie War Games, and in the movie, the character played by Matthew Broderick engages in an activity called war dialing, which involves using a computer to dial multiple phone numbers to identify a working modem. And war driving is seen as an evolution of this process. So essentially, like, how
God, yeah.
they got access to those people's home cameras and like the baby cam and just like their computers and phones was like someone's driving through and able to access someone's internet, because it's not like regular people have their password be password 123.
Yeah.
um which, like, what was the password in the beginning? Because it had to be something easy, which is also a red flag.
Yeah, he put in a bunch, I don't remember what it was.
He did try password. He tried password 123. So in that article, Mackie Kovac explains the film's logic, sadly, is already toast at this point. Why is Matthias entering his personal credentials into some laptop he acquired without wiping its existing contents to orbit? Which I was like, that's also super weird. I bought a used computer, and the only reason it wasn't completely wiped is because it had Photoshop on it, and I didn't want to buy Photoshop, and this was 2000, like, 10. So anyway, yet Unfriended Dark Web still flexes its technical consultant muscles whenever possible. Eventual malware on this laptop mimics existing programs' takeover abilities and interfaces. Matthias runs terminal commands and Daisy Disk when he faces hard drive issues. Real and disturbing darknet marketplaces are name checked. And when it comes to basic technical questions, the film answers them with clear and accurate representations on Matthias's desktop. Cool. I'm glad it does that for you. The biggest exception is how the MacBook in question juggles multiple Facebook accounts without having credentials cancel each other out or requesting any two factor authentication. I wish the film had ended with some form of PSA reminding viewers to use the heck out of two factor authentication. Agree. I
Yeah,
definitely agree with those last points. Because you would need a different browser to balance two accounts on Facebook. Okay, I know that
yeah,
much because I have to do that sometimes.
yeah,
So unless your other account or whatever, like if it's somebody else's account, I gotta hop to different browsers. He
yeah,
doesn't do that. He's on the same browser.
yeah.
Um, and there are
Flaws.
oh no, I think it is I found it very interesting that at least like the things that they name drop, some of the terms they use are all pretty real. It's just like
Yeah,
how they're using
tech.
them. And some of those plot holes are like, but how do we get here?
Yeah,
So there certainly are enough plot holes to sour anyone's experience, and mostly they have something to do with convenience and timing, right?
yeah,
So like, how do people get there so quickly? And like, how can you get into this computer, etc. But I think ultimately the film offered a fun and creative way to kill off a bunch of friends playing Cards Against Humanity, which I think was their only sin.
Yeah.
um, there is a bit of hate for the film out there, though. Tara Brady from the Irish Times said this of the film: figuratively speaking, Unfriended 2 puts a sheet over its head and says, "Woo, the internet is scary." It is seldom as scary as a sheet. There are a few interesting twists and turns, and the mounting horror of too many message alerts and unsolicited Skype friend requests is, as in real life, enough to elicit a sense of dread. And I
True.
get it.
Yeah.
People be roasted this film. I think it's very funny. "Ooh, the internet's scary." Like, it is, though.
It is
Um,
though. Yeah.
I think the worst thing of this film is that it has 4 endings.
Yeah.
Okay. Apparently, theaters would play their endings randomly. I don't know. I saw an article that said that. I didn't read too much into it because I was like, "This is dumb." So you wouldn't know, you wouldn't know which ending you were gonna get. And I find this part really silly. Firstly, if you're gonna film 4 different endings, then we should have some say in which one we get. Like, let it be a choose your own adventure. That has happened. There have been films that are choose your own adventure to some degree, or simply
Yeah.
pick one. Okay, it sounds lazy. Like you don't trust yourself enough to pick an ending that you have. Like, you don't get to have them all. There will always be a better ending between them. Like, I'm looking at you, depressing alternate ending to The Descent.
Yeah.
Much better, right? So don't put all the work on us to figure out which one it is. This isn't a video game, right? I'm not gonna watch the whole film to get a new ending. Like that's
Yeah, it wasn't that good, you know?
and the
They
endings
were
weren't
fine.
that different. They
Yeah.
were like very minutely different.
Yeah.
Except one was like a whole different kind of result, but every other one was like, here's they just die a different way. But
Yeah.
they get to the same, like
I
which
would be
one is
mad as
better.
heck if the only difference was they just die a slightly different way. I'd be
They
like,
do.
"Why did I waste an hour and a half?
The first
What do
one we
you
saw, he gets
mean?"
hit by a car. They vote, should
Yeah.
he die, that he gets hit by a car. The
Yeah.
other one I watched, he is buried alive, and the
That one
girlfriend
sounds
comes. That
scary.
one sounded legit because then he's like texting, he's trying to call her, and she's like, "What are you doing?" And then he's like, trying to text to her, and it changes the text, and then he's just like freaking out because he's suffocating. And I was like, "That's great." Then the
Yeah.
third one was he gets to the warehouse where his girlfriend is, which we saw earlier in the film, where they take some of the girls, and then he
Yeah.
like gets a note. He sees a gun, and it's essentially like they put up a vote: will he kill himself? Which is like,
Ah.
what? I don't know. And then the fourth one was he gets captured and the girlfriend is captured and they're like screaming and they're being held by these people and then they vote should they live, and then they play like him threatening them and being like, you should release Erica Dunn, then I'll give you your money, and they're like, yeah, he earned it, and so they let him out.
Huh.
Those are the 4 for you listeners.
Yeah.
Now you don't have to watch that YouTube video of all 4 endings and wonder why they couldn't just pick one.
Yeah.
It's just like it's not fun. It's
Yeah.
not fun. It doesn't they're not different enough, you know?
Yeah.
This isn't Clue. So, while the first one is by no means trying to instill a fear of the internet in us, instead it's a tale against cyberbullying, I found the intentionality of the second one just as fun. I think virtual specters and hooded hackers can both be frightening. It would be truly terrifying to be pursued by an entity you cannot touch that also knows all of your darkest secrets, who could then force you to end yourself over those secrets. But it is
Yeah.
also terrifying to be met with the truths of the dark web. There are monsters out there who have found community with other monsters who then work together to harm people. That's
Yeah.
real. And sometimes that harm is murder and torture, but other times that harm is simply an invasion of privacy. Flat
Yeah.
out. Also terrifying. So, for someone to so easily have access to your life, your digital presence, and image is horrifying. We've covered it many times on this show with all of our different episodes. So, I'm no stranger to the horrors of the internet. And so, we should be under no illusion that our internet presence does not belong to us and that we are at risk of losing ourselves and our livelihood always, all the
Yeah.
time. Whether we
Yeah.
lose that to sinister hackers or dark spirits of the net, the loss is still terrifying.
Yeah. 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 Scary, man. It really I what I found particularly scary about this movies plural, is just like it really does do a great job portraying the permanence of something that seems seemingly like not permanent.
Yeah.
Something that seems like it takes so little effort to destroy
Mhm.
yourself on the internet. It
Yeah.
takes you not thinking for 2 seconds of the future, and then that's this now, forever,
Yeah.
forever gone. And it's the same things as, like, with actions behind, like, the keyboard, you know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of detachment that we see that is also really concerning and scary. Uh,
Mhm.
and as you said, that literally at any point, someone could be like, "I'm gonna go in your computer and look at all your stuff, and then maybe post some of it as if I'm you," and I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
know what you'll find. I'm fine, honestly. I don't think there's anything in there. But also, like, what if,
Yeah.
or what if they just like pretend they're you? Like this whole Twitter thing is a whole mess, which I'll like
Yeah.
very briefly.
It's, like, funny, but also, like, scary, and I think
Yeah,
it's funny because people really use it as an opportunity to teach a lesson, because the whole point of, like, the verification, like, is to protect people so that they know who to trust. Like, a problem with, like, information and the way that's delivered and verifying it has always been an issue. Every time new technology is brought up, like when we first started having radios, like anyone can be on the radio, like anyone could have been on a station, and they had to implement like rules because people would be like, okay, here's a miracle elixir, call in and give us all your money for this miracle elixir.
yeah.
And they don't know, like you're like,
There's
okay, it's
lots
on the
of
radio, it
people
has to be
who,
real.
yeah, who think like literally hear the information and that is the end of the thought. Like that is
Yeah.
the end of the research. That is the end of the figuring out if it's real or not.
But you also, like, trust
Uh,
it because it's coming from this source that was very new for people. Same thing with
yeah,
TV, when TV got new, who knew what was going on? Like, we had to put these regulations in place so that because people are just, like, dumb. And so that's why
yeah,
the horribly evil company that charges money for the life-saving drug insulin has lost billions of dollars in stock because someone pretended to tweet as them and said, "Now it's free," and everyone pulled out. And I was like, well, you know what? Now we can ask all the questions of like, why even? Is it
yeah.
any it's free.
Yeah, I
Anyway.
mean, that company can go broke, that's fine.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, 100%.
Um, yeah,
Um, but yeah, like that's why it's funny to see that versus like, it could have went in a horrific other way where people were impersonating other people,
yeah.
you
I
know?
mean, and I think that's the way it's gonna go, unfortunately. But, like, from now on, like,
Yeah,
they
yeah.
even did it to Elon Musk, like, a lot of people
Yeah,
made accounts as him and then
yeah.
would just tweet in crazy stuff, and
And
then
now they can't do it anymore. He
yeah,
removed
he was like, "Okay,
authentic.
it's fine until it's me, though."
Yeah, comedy is now no longer allowed
Yeah.
because it
I
was
miss comedy, now it's here, but it's about you. I hate comedy.
comedy's bad, actually,
Yeah.
and we don't want it, so no more blue checks.
Defamation.
Blue checks are
Yeah,
gone.
the whole time. But yeah, my section is usually called facts. It's not facts. Honestly, most of the time I feel like it's not actually facts. Just because like who am I? But but also just a lot of these words are from my
You
brain
do
and
research.
I do research, yes. But for this one specifically, like I read some stuff, but like this is mostly just my thoughts on
Alright.
the situation. So extra not facts
But
time. That
as
is
someone who
your
has done extensive research on several episodes about the horrors of the internet, I think we can trust your brain.
fair, fair. But I'm not saying don't like end here. Don't take everything I say as face
True,
value. Go
true,
learn
true.
stuff yourself. Uh,
You're right.
but that's like our thesis too at the same time.
Mhm.
But ultimately, the internet can feel scary for a lot of reasons that are super valid. So it's like when people are like, "Ooh, the internet," it's like,
Yeah.
no, but
No,
actually,
but
ooh, the
really
internet. Um, and it's not usually like the fear of like actual ghosts. It's the actual reality of how much the internet is this kind of like provides this all-encompassing access to the human experience.
Mhm.
And the internet holds and sees and shines a magnifying glass to a lot of people who otherwise might have just operated under the radar, which can be good and bad. It gives access, especially to information that simultaneously operate. It's like a lot of simultaneous that happens with the
Yeah.
internet, but it's overwhelming, amazing,
Everything is now.
invasive, dangerous. It's constant. It's so much. And it has vastly altered the human experience in so many ways, both from how we socialize, to how we grieve, to how we process information, to how we critically think, our
Mhm.
attention spans, etc. It really has changed a lot about what human experience is and how we interact with each other, both to our detriment and to our benefit. There's also lots of ambiguity, as we were saying, as the lack of understanding of how invasive the internet can be. People really don't realize how plugged in
Mhm.
like at how readily accessible our entire identities are at all times.
Mhm.
And when utilized by certain hands, people can access stuff that you maybe don't even want them to, that you never even thought about. Those
Mhm.
MySpace quizzes
Yeah.
that you posted in your teen years, they're
Yep.
probably still there. Like, 'cause someone could go
Yeah.
look at those if they wanted. You don't remember what you said, you know? So yeah, when utilized by certain hands, this access can be really scary. Whether it's like someone taking screenshots of conversations you've had, images, tweets, or other things that like you didn't know that they were taking screenshots of. Uh,
Mhm.
our entire selves are constantly at the disposal of others. That we could be ruined at any point by others, or like positive things. There's positive parts too. But identity theft is a very real and ever-present threat that the internet increases the chances of. With identity theft extending from like literal theft of personal information, finances, etc., to someone masquerading as someone they are not, hacking profiles to use one person's influence to reach more people slash victims. I saw this with my friend whose Instagram got hacked by someone who was like, buy NFTs. And then they
Mhm.
opened the message and then they had 600 followers all gone
Mhm.
because their internet thing was
Yeah.
hacked and they can't
NFT
get it back.
all the time.
Yeah, and then now they can't get it back. So their
Mhm.
entire work to build up that social platform gone.
Yep.
So that's something that can actively happen, and then they now have access to your entire friend group that trusts you, but does not
Mhm.
trust a stranger who's impersonating you. So
Yep.
there's lots of stuff. The vulnerability specifically is something that can haunt people, much like a ghost would. The result is real and lasting consequences.
Mhm.
And as we witnessed in the first Unfriended film, we are given protagonists with this amazing tool of social media, YouTube, Skype, and other methods of constant communication and access to each other be taken advantage of because they're children.
Mhm.
These tools are given to humans who are too young to really understand the permanence of their words, actions on a digital platform, which is like actual factuals. In that 16-year-olds are just starting to understand what next week is.
Yeah.
Like they don't have any concept of tomorrow. That was something that when I taught middle school kids, I kept getting like frustrated because I was like, "You're gonna be there next week, right?" And they're like, "Yeah." Next
Yeah.
week, what is that?
Yeah.
And then I'd be like, "Oh, you're so right. Your brain literally does not process time in that way. So me asking you to do something next week is just stupid. Like, why would I even think your brains aren't there yet? And that's fine. But like, you got to meet people where they are. But these very young people are given very real actionable consequences when they
Mhm.
make decisions to post things online without really realizing the implications of that.
Yeah, it's like those
And
girls who would get, like, charged for child pornography for having nudes on the internet because
mhm.
they're underage.
Yeah, like, they don't know.
Mhm.
Like, the distribution of those pictures, 100% a problem. Those people should be arrested, like, the
Mhm.
ones who are, like, exploiting the entire child who's made this
Yeah.
mistake, but not the child.
Yep.
Here we are. What they are forced to confront in the movie is that once something's posted to the internet, it becomes alive in a way that is hard to comprehend.
Mhm.
It becomes the ghost. It takes on a life of its own with this instantaneous influence of others. Honestly, like, you can post like, a photo, and then someone screenshots that, and then now that photo you erase it because you regret your decision, and now that
Mhm.
photo is back online because someone saved it. It was like, "I'm gonna get them." You know what I
Mhm.
mean? That's like all the celebrities, like, comment on people's Instagram posts and then
Mhm.
delete it like, "Oh, I shouldn't have said that." And
Yeah.
then, like, an
And then it's in a
article comes
BuzzFeed
out.
article.
Yeah, and it's like, "This person said this about this person." There's clearly drama and unhappy feelings there, and it's like, yeah, but, like, why do we have to, like, put that on blast? They clearly regretted their choice and erased the message.
Yeah, I
They have
literally
power to
follow
do.
one
Good.
Twitter account that is literally just they just repost screenshots of another person's Twitter account
Yeah.
in case that person ever decides to delete it.
It's so wild. But it's a real thing. Like it's a real thing.
Mhm.
Like once you put it out there, it really takes on a life of its own, and that life can haunt you for years to come. Essentially, anything you post on there can be reposted, even if without your consent. So things deleted from a computer can be reaccessed if someone with hacking capabilities at their disposal decided to unearth it, or if you're just literally not good about cleaning
Mhm.
the trash bin out.
Mhm. Or if your
Uh,
password is password.
yeah. make passwords with multiple caps, numbers, different cases, etc.
Mhm.
Make sure people can get in there.
Random.
But the internet makes it so that a bad decision can last forever and live on without a person's consent. And it's a literal representation of how the actions and words have lasting consequences. And we get to see that unfold every time we log in. Where those
Mm.
consequences used to be siloed into tight knit communities, they are now out there for any and everyone to see. There is an obvious danger that exists with that, but it's especially dangerous for a very young and not fully developed brain, having humans who have the ability to voice things that they may regret later in a very public and unforgiving way. And we see the consequences of this play out live in the film that we watched, in that they made very bad choices and said rude things behind the wall of a keyboard, thinking like it
Mhm.
was not that big of a deal. And there were real consequences to that that were lasting, but that now they're like literally being haunted by that.
Mhm.
And
Yeah,
the
it was
truth
just a
will,
joke.
yeah, will eventually come out, at the end of the day, and, like, with evidence,
Mhm.
because of technology. Technology just provides evidence,
Mhm.
uh, for things that you wish didn't exist. Before, you could just go about your life. That's why so many famous people
Mhm.
are now getting caught for things that they, like, totally had no accountability before.
Yep.
But I'll get into that. The undying presence of the internet also extends to the trauma associated with events like the loss of a friend, which is something else that we see in the film. In the film's instance, they were kind of awful to this person. Uh,
Mhm.
it doesn't remove the fact that the loss was probably painful for them and that they didn't realize the actual consequences of their actions.
Yeah.
But the internet saves things that you might not want to see, specifically if you're dealing with the loss of a loved one. I know specifically Facebook is very notorious for this, but
Mhm. Memory.
yeah, the memories. But like this applies to trauma or things you might want to forget. So if you lost a loved one, the painful memories associated with that person are significantly harder to avoid than they once were because of the digital footprint that has been left behind. Where before you could separate yourself from those memories, put them in a photo album and walk away, Facebook memories will throw it in your face without any warning. You don't have any way
Mhm.
to filter that out or buffer. I think they've now
Just
added,
trigger you again.
yeah, a way to like silo it out, but is exactly like it kind of flies at you in a way that can be very triggering, especially if you are not like willfully seeking out that information.
Mhm.
Um, and as it's not a ghost in the sense that like there's an alive thing haunting you, but it is like the ghost of, or the haunting experience of having to just relive this over and over again because it is
Mhm.
still present. And this applies to other forms of loss, be it an ended romantic relationship, marriage, friendship, the loss of a pet, etc. There are many instances where the option to see that information and travel back to those moments can be very special, but also instances where it's damaging. Um, I know that, like, through my own experience, there's been moments where, like, I'm really, really happy to see, like, photos from before of, like, people
Mhm.
I've lost, but also instances where I was like, I was not in the mood to have that today.
Yeah.
Uh, I was going about my life and for, like, 5 minutes forgot that that happened, and now there it is again. So it really
Yeah.
depends on kind of what your headspace is and, like, how you grieve, and that grieving is such a unique experience to the individual.
Yeah. And they don't even have to be dead. Sometimes I just see like a post or a memories thing of just someone that traumatizes me who is
Oh,
alive. And it's like,
100%,
oh,
yeah.
right.
Yeah, people you don't wanna see, just like, as I said, like, it doesn't have to just be loss, like someone has died.
Mhm.
It could be literally any kind of relationship, uh, even negative, as you said, Gabe. But essentially, the internet keeps those forgotten things ever present in your life. And the way that that can be positive, we talked about before, is like kind of like grief ghosts and the profiles of loved ones that can act as a space to honor people,
Mhm.
as well as like an outlet to get unspoken feelings across in a way that can provide closure or create a feeling that that person is still with you.
Mhm.
But in addition to loss, the internet has other ways to haunt us. Uh, we can be haunted, as I said, by the past, our choices, our words, our fashion decisions for many years to come. And oftentimes, the internet is just a constant reminder of things you might not want to be reminded of without willfully seeking out. And the as I was saying before, the permanence of the internet is also very apparent when looking at all the mass volume of celebrities that have been canceled in recent years because they're haunted by their past actions and statements now resurfacing to be like, hey, remember when you were awful? Remember what you just changed your whole thing, but you've actually been awful this whole time. Look at this tweet you said in 2006.
Yeah, and you said some bad things. Like,
Yeah.
what?
Yeah, like the very many people are
Did you say that?
finally seeing the thing that's been haunting them forever, which is accountability.
Yeah.
And that's largely why like so many people have gotten away with stuff. The internet provides a very nice window into consequences.
Mhm.
And there's ways in which that's very positive, in that the crappy people who are rich and awful, being rich and awful, sometimes have consequences socially now
Mhm.
because their stuff is all out there. There's also a level of separation from accountability that can simultaneously exist within the internet, and people who vocalize opinions or hot takes that they might not have shared with someone to their face, like keyboard warriors, I guess, or
Mhm.
what do they call them? Trolls.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Unfriended does a fantastic job of showcasing this in the lack of direct or honest communication that exists with this friend group, as well as like their access to immediate negative feedback
Oh, yeah.
when the consequences come. It kind of like floods in without end.
Yeah.
Um,
And that's true. That's, like, really upsetting.
yeah, like and I'll keep getting to that, but it's like like someone can post something and you're not them, and then immediately everyone just stops asking questions like, "Yeah, that person sucks. Hate them. Go
Mhm.
die." All this other stuff.
Yeah.
Like
It's like that Black
immediately.
Mirror episode you were saying
Yeah, yeah.
with the
Or like
bees.
that one where you like rate people. Like
Mhm. Oh,
you
yeah,
get a
yeah.
coffee and you're like, you get an upvote.
Yeah.
You looked at me weird. You get a downvote, and then
Like,
like never has a downvote.
to
It's like
your, like,
rude.
whole
That was such a stressful one.
existence. Yep.
But yeah, with access to all this information comes an unorganized funneling of what is true and false as well. That's where media literacy is super important.
Mhm.
The danger with that is that the claim made on social media can be where people end their research on a subject. A
Yeah.
person can say blatantly untrue things about you, and thousands will believe it outright without second thought.
Yeah,
They won't
we
even
saw
Google
the
it.
election of Donald Trump. We saw that.
Yeah. And the same applies to the intake of news, events, and politics. While this isn't internet specific, there do exist like implied news channels that define themselves actually as entertainment platforms, but then position themselves as a place of factual information for their viewers, um, that just like share blatant lies to be taken by their viewers at face value, who are like, that's facts. I'm not going to ask another question about that.
Alternative
And
facts.
yeah, and they might have, like, a thing at the end of their episode, like, "None of the information shared in here is, actually factually accurate," in, like, tiny, tiny text at
Yeah.
the bottom.
Or just
It's
all
just
the
like
boomers who get got by Onion articles, like, all the time,
yeah.
like,
Oh,
on the reg. It's so
yeah.
fun.
They're like, "Yeah, that sounds real." But yeah, essentially people on said channels or in the internet making unsubstantiated claims or opinions as if they are factual sources, just as it was stated that not everything you find in a book is true. The same can be applied to the internet, and that literally anyone can post on the internet, make a website, or spread false information if they wish to do so. Um, and I'll get into the lastly, is this whole Twitter situation.
Mhm.
The introduction of the paid verified check mark is especially concerning. I am so worried about how this is going to go when it
Well,
comes to
it's
just
done.
regular people. I know, but like how it's going to unfold in like the coming weeks. Like this is like a week ago that this took place, right?
It's been this week. It launched the blue check mark to buy it for $8 started on November 1st, and it is now no longer available. People can no longer buy a verified check mark because Elon Musk got butthurt about it.
Well, then it's not even relevant then. I didn't hear that. So that's
Yeah, that's
interesting.
what I'm saying, it's wild.
Yeah.
It's literally been a week.
Yeah.
Like, and
Well, yeah,
he's
and then
burnt
like
this company to the ground. It's hilarious.
exactly. The danger with it is that someone could be like, "I am this," and then say wild stuff, and then, as you said, they bankrupt the insulin
Yeah.
company, which is a little win. But
Yeah.
in that, like, they were charging too much for insulin, and it should be readily accessible to people. But there's so much to be concerned about with the whole false verification. So I'm glad they took it
Mhm.
down.
Yeah.
But what a scary time that could have been, even more so for just like regular folks. Like,
My yeah,
yeah.
like, when impersonating you, yeah. I would
Mhm.
say my favorite, impersonation, because people were impersonating Elon Musk all over, but my
Mhm.
favorite is, so because of all the impersonations, it was like you had to put parody in the bio if you were a parody, or you'd get banned, and then because they were doing that, someone was a fake Tesla account, and so Elon was mad, and he was like, "Okay, well, now you have to put parody in your name as well as the profile," but then he locked out everyone's account so no one can change their names, any of the verified accounts. And so Doja Cat was stuck as Christmas. And so she tweeted, she tweeted, "I don't want to be Christmas forever at Elon Musk. Please help. I've made a mistake." And then he's like, "All right, you should be able to change your name now." And she tweets, "Thank you." But she's changed her name to Elon Musk. And she changed her picture to Elon Musk, but it says like Doja Cat. So good. It's so good. I living for it.
Living for that. That's hilarious. I love Doja.
Yeah, that's
That's very funny.
he's amazing.
Um,
So, but now it's over. Like it's the last straw. Everyone trolled him so hard into the ground. What a backfire. So you don't have to worry
yeah.
about it. It was very funny when it happened though.
Yeah, but I think like the mass destruction of Twitter in the span of a week is just really wild. Because one, like there are actual like real consequences for that aside from like shitty businesses getting their just desserts.
Yeah.
Like there's like small businesses, artists, stuff like that who like can't post now because they're like getting filtered out to the all versus the like it hurts small content creators or people who like made their entire identity as social media presences, influencers,
Damn.
etc. Like as we talked, yeah, and Cam, like there's so much to say also about like people who build their livelihoods about that around that and like if someone were to impersonate them and people take that as face value like the damage that that does too. Like you can get sued for defamation at that point, I think. But
Mhm.
you got to have sue money. Not everyone has sue
I
money.
know. It's like that
Um,
time when my Instagram was hacked and they changed the profile to a butt. And I was like, "It's not my butt. It's my butt."
yeah,
Everyone thinks that I put my butt on the internet now, and I didn't.
yeah,
But I was able to get it back. But
yeah,
I've seen a lot of people get kicked out of Instagram now for getting hacked.
yeah. It's happened like a decent amount. I'll tell you, a
Yeah.
lot of people I know too, like whose the whole accounts got hacked, and now like they have to totally start over.
Mhm. So let us be the warning that the film should have been, that you should, in fact, do two-factor authentication any place you can, and make sure you have a password catcher. Like, you always like, don't have it autofill in your browser. Have something you have to sign in. I use Dash Pass or something. Dashlane. It's called Dashlane, which I use to store all my passwords, but I have to log in. Like, I have to have a main password to log into that to get access to my other passwords, and none of my
See, you're
passwords
gonna
are
make
the
me
same.
redo my whole life because I'm a mess. I'm a
Do
mess
it.
with that game. And I hate two-factor authorization because like, it just takes
It takes
longer.
time. It
It
certainly
takes
does.
longer, and I'm such a brat. But you're right, I so should. I really need to, because
I'm
we
gonna
have a presence. I think
copy a
people love
link. It's
Elon
gonna
Musk
come
though.
up as an option for folks to use Dashlane. I get points or something if you use it. So everyone,
We
just do
aren't
it.
paid by them to
We
sponsor
aren't. We are
though.
not. But I'm just saying one of many that you could do, okay?
Yeah.
Is you check it out, you get a password protector. Make sure your passwords are not easy to know. Like, it shouldn't be your pet's name or something that
Oh,
everyone
yeah.
knows.
Mine
You
are hard
should
to know, it's just they're all
a
similar.
variation of capital, uncapital,
Yeah.
not just the first letter, some characters in there, some numbers, make it weird. And every one of your passwords should be different.
How people will remember them then?
I have a system. So, uh,
My
yeah.
brain does not function at that decibel. It's
No.
real. I'm gonna need to figure it out. But everyone else too. And also like put a sticky note over your recordy thing on your
Ah,
phone
yeah,
and
yeah,
your
yeah.
computer
In your
because
computer. Mhm.
I know we did the Snowden thing where we learned about that, but I was like, it was news to me that the light didn't I forgot that the light didn't need to turn on and that people could be looking at you. And
Mhm.
I have mine up because I'm in Zoom all day.
Yeah, and you don't wanna
Yeah,
have to, but there's some that have
everything
now,
else
and
fine.
there's tape, there's like a little, like, you can slide
Mm.
it
Why not
over
use
and then
slide?
yeah.
Yeah.
I'll recommend that. Um, but cool. So here's in your very layman's terms for internet safety. The other thing is like don't interact on the internet as if it's not permanent and forever. Don't say things that you're gonna regret later. Don't wear
Yeah.
that you're gonna regret later. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah.
Um,
There's just like, yeah, so many teenagers all have phones. So like they're all no semblance of personal foreverness. Like they all
mhm,
have social media accounts. And it's like they're gonna realize when they're like 27, all the time someone screenshotted they wish they didn't screenshot and it's used against them because people keep receipts.
mhm.
It's a real thing.
Have private accounts.
Yeah.
Don't be letting people see your stuff.
I
It's
know, but
forever.
they don't know.
Says us with like a
Thing.
TikTok. Like we have TikTok, and China knows everything about us.
Yeah, but I don't think we're
Selling
doing
all of
anything
our
that
information.
insane.
Doesn't
Yeah,
That's not even what it is though. It's like it sells your information.
that's fair. That's fair. It's bad. It's bad. You're totally right. You're totally right.
Like it's not if you're doing good or bad. Like that's the whole chat right there.
I will
It's the fact
say,
that it's your information.
and it's also very Gen Z to be like, I don't care. I'm not gonna be alive then.
Yeah.
For
We just
consequence,
watched whole movies about
what?
why you should care.
7 years the planet dies. What do you mean? My passwords can be
In
whatever.
7 years, you could have like the worst 7 years left, you know?
Yeah, you're right. You're right. It's real though. It's real. Like you really got to be on top of your internet
Yeah.
security, and like there's so many ways. That wasn't even all the ways the internet can haunt you. It's just like it really
Mhm.
just takes a life of its own. As the
Yeah.
second it leaves your space,
Yeah. As soon as you
and
hit post, it's done.
yeah,
So please be careful. And if you steal a computer that's owned by someone, a dark web user, like don't. Like first of all,
oh my god, I didn't even get to talk about that stuff. Like is a little bit real. Like the swatting thing, real.
yeah,
People call SWAT on it. That's a real thing happens. There's like
yeah,
other little things that were in the film that were like accurate.
yeah.
And that, like, there are people who
Doxing.
get paid, yeah, doxing, photoshopping people into things.
Uh huh.
Facial recognition stuff is
Yep.
very real, like that you can buy clothing or, like, put
Mhm.
dots on your face that make it so you can't be recognized and stuff.
Mhm.
It's all like, there's lots of pieces of maybe they didn't execute it
Yeah.
perfectly,
There are
but it
potholes,
all,
but it
like, leads you to the source, you know?
yeah. It's not that far. Like it's a far fetched version of very real things. Like
Mhm.
the dark web is
That's what the
real.
horror movie
People
should
do be
be.
murdering people on the internet. I have,
Yeah,
as a former, what it, a recovering true crime
yeah,
fanatic. I know of real stories of people posting stuff on the internet of them doing real murder. Like that's real, and
yeah,
snuff films are real, and paying people to do crazy things like that on the internet is real. Doxing is real. Getting your
yeah.
information is real. Like all that stuff is real.
Yeah, like
So
human trafficking, where do they sell the things? Sell the people on the dark web. So like all of this is valid and accurate stuff.
yeah, this isn't conspiracy theory time. This is for
Yeah.
real time. We're telling
Like
you.
maybe it's implemented slightly differently than our understanding of it, but it does exist. Uh,
Yeah. Yes.
People have experienced it.
They put entertainment versions of it on there, but it is real.
Yeah,
So, don't go to the dark web. I couldn't ever I wouldn't know how to get there in the first place, but
I
I'd be
don't know.
really
Yeah, I have
scared.
no idea.
I'm afraid of certain Reddit posts, okay? Like, I just can't I won't even go on 4chan, that sounds awful. So, no
No.
thanks.
All I do is play video games. I don't want to be talking to people like that.
Mhm.
I don't-
It's like people get got on that too, it's like they do the "Am I the a-hole?" posts, and then the
Oh
person
my
will
god, and
comment.
people find them. Oh my god, Gabe, I remember the other thing I wanted to say.
What? What is
Okay,
it?
so there's like this whole thing that I read the other day about this guy. He made a documentary. It was on YouTube, where he matched people's influencers, Instagram influencers. This is so random. I'm sorry. I should have remembered it earlier. I didn't write it down.
Okay.
Instagram influencers. He would find who they were based on like public camera surveillance.
Uh-huh.
You'd see like where they were taking a picture and then find the pictures.
Yeah.
So it was like this really scary docu series or like this like YouTube video, I guess.
Yeah.
It was like of him showing how he identified random people and found their social media, their names, all this other stuff. So like in the movie
Mhm.
where he was like, you see the picture, you find the college, you find the address
Yeah.
kind of thing. That's all like super legit. And that like this like guy, random dude was
Yeah.
just, like, showing how through hacking into or, like, viewing public access cameras, like street cameras
Yeah.
that anyone could look at.
Google f Google
Yeah,
Maps.
exactly, exactly, and then being able to, like, find people who are taking pictures and then finding the pictures attached to the random people in the street that he sees
Mhm.
posting the pictures, so then finding their identity just through seeing them on this camera, and that's not even,
Yeah.
like, facial recognition software. That's just some guy.
Yeah.
Uh,
And now we gotta be real. So where you were at this time of the day, everyone knows.
wow. I'll see if I can find the video and then link it into the blog. But I remember watching it the other day and it, like, blew my mind, it, like, freaked me out because I was like, "Never again am I taking a picture in a public place. This guy gonna find me."
Mhm.
I don't care if he finds me, I guess, because I don't know him or what he's
You
gonna do,
put
but
people
that's
have location
creepy.
tags on
You
Instagram.
shouldn't do location tags, that's how people get murdered.
Yeah.
Like,
It's
it happens all
literally
the time.
yes. We sound conspiracy theory, but this is real.
Yeah.
This is the real
Don't
horrors.
put your location on stuff because 1, you can either be stalked, like, that's also a thing that happens through Snapchat, your location
Mhm.
is shared on there, like, don't turn that off because
Mhm.
people can come find you, like, you can share your Snap information, you don't know them like that. Or
Yeah.
you just post on Facebook a bunch and you tag your location, someone can literally map out your day and
Mhm.
stalk you through that. And in an anime I watched recently, the Twitter impersonation thing came into play, in that I'm just a random assortment of fun facts right now, and I'm sorry. But it was like a theme in the show where this guy was getting stalked by this woman and she made fake Twitters for him. And then all his friends got mad at him and like hated him because
Mhm.
this lady like impersonated him on the internet. And he's like a whole teenager. And then he lost all his friends and he had to move entire cities to get away from this woman. And then she found him by looking on Instagram and he was in the background of someone else's picture. And then so she found him so she could go get him again.
Yeah.
Crazy.
That's how they
That's what real
found
humans do.
people found out some news about people on, Love Is Blind because of Instagram because 'cause they're in the background of
Mm,
something. People were like, "What?" Yeah, it's super real. It's super my mom always posts where she is, and I'm like, "Why do you stop doing that?" Now
yeah.
I mean, I know
Someone
your town is, like, this big, like, everyone already knows, but, like,
also
don't, like yeah,
yeah,
on
don't
the red.
post your location on stuff because there are crazy people, especially people aren't safe out there. You need to really just watch where you're putting stuff.
Mhm. Yeah,
It's
yeah.
permanent. It's forever.
Yep. Well, don't get married.
Tell your kids.
Your kids will post stuff on the internet, and then ghosts will kill them.
Or just the consequences of their real actions.
Yeah, yeah. Or the dark web? Question mark, question
Yeah.
mark. Cool. Alright, bye.
Bye.